candidate forums we host here on campus like this, and we just can't wait to get started. This event is called We the People. That is actually the preamble of the United States Constitution, and that's what we want to represent tonight. Bipartisanship and a level of civility. I'm going to let Johnny Thomas in the house keep it tonight.
Hello everyone, my name is Johnny Toma and I'm an intern for Senator Sullivan. I'll go over the housekeeping rules. So each candidate will be given 2 minutes to respond to each question that we ask them. When a candidate has 30 seconds remaining, they'll receive a visual cue of a hand raise to wrap up. If they go over the 2 minutes, we'll kindly ask them to wrap up. Second, if a candidate is directly referenced or mentioned by name during another candidate's response, that candidate who was mentioned will be given the opportunity for a brief rebuttal after the initial candidate concludes. Third, at the end of our questions, we'll open it up to the public. There'll be an opportunity for anyone here to ask a question of any of the candidates that are on the panel. Please raise your hand and we'll come to you with the microphone. At the end, each candidate will have an opportunity to deliver a closing statement, and we will order the responses, and it will rotate by person throughout the questioning to be fair. And this is a student-led bipartisan event intended to promote civic engagement, and we appreciate and hope that all of you maintain a level of decorum throughout the entirety of this event. Thank you.
I understand that the music was playing while the housekeeping rules were being read, so I'm just going to get the beginning of the candidates here tonight. First, each candidate will be given approximately 2 minutes to respond to each question. When a candidate has 30 seconds remaining, they will receive a visual or verbal notice so they may conclude their remarks. We ask all candidates to respect the time limit so that everyone has an equal opportunity to speak. Second, if a candidate is directly referenced or mentioned by name during another candidate's response, the candidate will be given the opportunity to offer a brief rebuttal at the moderator's discretion. Once again, that is if the candidate names an oath during the response. We ask all audience members to remain respectful at all times, especially during the open mic session. Each candidate will have an opportunity to deliver both opening statements and closing statements in addition to answering questions as we move forward tonight. We will now begin with opening statements. In opening statements, please just explain to us who you are and why you're running again or running for the first time. I'm so happy to have you all here. We're going to start with you, Representative.
Thank you all. Thank you guys for John and John for doing this and asking us all to come out here. I'm John Billy, District 33. I live in Lake City, Arkansas. I cover part of Cricket County, part of Mississippi County. I used to have none Mississippi County, but now I have part of Cricket and part of Mississippi. I was the mayor there for 10 years and had people come tell me about running for this job. And I said, well, I had to pray about that for a while. And I did, and I won, and that's where the good Lord wants me to be. So I enjoy what I do. It's a process. Sometimes it's hard. It's not real easy some days, but I tell people all the time, real quick, that the best part of my job is when I'm able to help my constituents back home. That's the best part of the job. But anyway, thank the good Lord, don't have an opponent this time. We prayed about that real hard, me and Representative Thomas. And we talked daily about it. But I look forward to tonight and look forward to working for the people of District 33.
I am Shamal Carter. I'm running for District 36 House right here, which covers Jonesboro, starting at the university, over to Marion, then to Truman, and around to Penton. I chose to run for office and I was inspired because I choose to build bridges instead of burn them. I choose to be accessible to the community and be someone that's a light for everybody, to be inclusive. And that choice was made because of some recent things that have happened. And I look to continue to be the voice of the people right here in Jonesboro. My life has been about service since the very beginning. And again, just running for this seat just extends my service farther than what it already has been over the last 15 years.
It's good to be with you today. I'm glad that each and every one of you stay informed of what is going on, especially the issues. The reason I'm running is the reason that I've always been. It's because I just felt like I'm a servant for the people. I've been that way for, I guess, since I started. I always try. Nothing's perfect, but I'll promise you this. When people call me, I respond. And I get a tremendous amount of phone calls. And that's just fine. That's just fine. But I want you to know it's a pleasure to be with you. I'm Johnny Rye, State Representative, District 36. Live down at Cleveland, but I stay up here in Shelbyville about 2/3 of the time. but thank y'all.
Hi everyone, I'm Erica Asplund and I'm running for House District 32. And I have been a long-term teacher here since I first graduated from A-State in 2002. And I spoke to somebody earlier today and I wish that I had been so engaged as some of the young people that are in this room. So thank you all for being here and thank the two of you for working together to make sure that our voices can be heard for all the constituents. And also thanks to KLEK for live streaming. I've taught for 23 years after receiving my bachelor's here, and in that time I've taught preschool, 4th grade, but I've landed in my special home spot of 3rd grade teaching, where the cream of the crop people, 8 and 9-year-olds, get to teach me every day about how to be a better human. And when I started noticing that I could use that voice to make a larger impact, I really decided that it was time for me to kind of spread that out and venture into a political career. This is my second race. I did contest the state Senate seat for District 20 in the 24 cycle. And this time I decided, okay, I'm going to keep on going because usually when that momentum is there, it proves that the constituents want to have somebody that they can speak to with civility as much as possible. And I'd love to be that for you all. Once again, I'm Erica Asplund, running for House District 32.
Hey guys, Josh Alfano here, running for District 32. I am a transit driver for the city of Jonesboro. I pick up the disabled, the elderly. That's where my heart is. And I see issues in our community with accessibility being the main concern. But I sat on it and prayed about it. And one day I said, well, Lord, I guess it's time just to step out and run. So that's why I'm here. But thank you for being here, and I appreciate your time.
I'm Cody Powers. I'm running for state representative here in District 30. I've lived in Northeast Arkansas my whole life. I own a bail bond company in the state of Missouri, and I have a private investigations company here in Arkansas. I have 3 kids, Jada, Isaiah, and Miley, ranging from 20 to 2. So quite a range there. The reason I'm running, I could be up here all night to explain that. But I guess to summarize it really, the state motto is reg nat populus, the people rule. But for some reason, I think a lot of us in this room share this feeling that that motto no longer applies in the state of Arkansas. We got this feeling that certain communities are the only ones that get represented. Only certain voices get heard. I think it's time to end that. Here in Arkansas, we rank 51st of 50 states, 51st in voter participation. We rank behind even Washington, D.C. And I think that's because people feel like they're not heard anymore. We have the highest, here in Little Arkansas, we have the highest filing fees just to participate in the democratic process. And I think taking all this together, folks no longer feel heard, and I want to change that, folks. Regardless of what party you're in, where you stand on this issue or that issue, I think everyone wants to be heard. And as a representative, I feel like I would do that. I would give a voice to both sides. Conservative, liberal, I want to hear your concerns. I want to hear what worries you. I will hear you, and I will do everything within my power to give you a voice in the world.
It's great to be with you tonight. John, thank y'all for inviting me and Johnny and to my other candidates up here on the stage. Thank y'all for being here. It's a great honor for me to be here. My name is Dwight Tosh. I'm I'm a state representative from District 38, which covers the southern part of Craighead County, kind of the northern part of Poinsett County, and the northern part of Jackson County. I'm in my 6th term, and I'm like Representative Milligan. I thank the good Lord every day. I'm unopposed, coming up for my 7th term. And, you know, in the House of Representatives here in Arkansas, we have term limits. You can only, well, I'm under the 16-year term. Those being elected to today would be under 12 years. But it's a great honor for me to serve District 38. I spent 37 years with the Arkansas State Police. I was a trooper in this county for several years in Poinsett County, and I retired as the troop commander for Troop B out of Newport over in Jackson County. During my 37 years with the state police, during that time I was a SWAT team leader. I was a hostage negotiator, and I just really enjoyed my career with the state police. A lot of people ask me, you know, which one do you enjoy the most? Did you enjoy being an Arkansas State Trooper the most, or a state representative? And I always respond, you know, that's like asking me which one of my kids I love the most. You know, I guess it depends on which day of the week it is. But anyways, it's a great honor for me to serve, and the reason that I continue to serve is obviously the support of the people in District 38 and those that believe in me and those that support me. And I'm always grateful for that, and that means so much to me. But I like it. I miss when I was with the state police, and after I retired, you know, when I was with the state police, I had the opportunity to be able to help a lot of people. And when that career came to a close, it was a void in my life. And so I decided to run for office, and, you know, being a state representative, I'm back now where I can help people. And I think that's what good Lord placed me on this earth to do. That's why I stand before you tonight, and that's why I continue to serve until term limits or the voters decide differently. But anyways, God bless you. Thank you for allowing me to be here, and I look forward to visiting with each and every one of you.
Thank you all for being here tonight. Without further ado, we're going to begin with our first question. This first question will actually go to it's for all of you, but we're going to start with Mr. Tosh and then go in. If you can't hear me, let me know. The U.S. House recently passed the SAVE Act, which would establish national voter ID requirements and require proof of citizenship and registering to vote. Some state officials, including candidates for the Arkansas Secretary of State, have expressed concerns about federal involvement in the state election process. Do you support this legislation as they say that? Why or why not?
Yes, I do support that. Arkansas has, we have put laws into place making us our security for our voting as one of the most secure states in the country as far as integrity when it comes to here in the state. And yes, I do support that. I think, you know, voter ID is something that I've heard both sides of that. But you know, you have to have a driver's license, you have to show your ID. And I think each and every one of us, we've got one goal. We want a fair election, regardless of who's running, regardless of what party you're with. If you lose, you won't know it was fair. If you win, you want to know it was fair. That, I think all of us, and when you have a driver's license, you have to show your driver's license. What's wrong with that? I mean, you know, we have to show our driver's license. If we, as I well know, if you get pulled over by a law enforcement officer, you've got to produce your driver's license. You have to show your driver's license about everything you do. So I really don't understand why there's some have an issue with showing their driver's license to be able to be allowed to vote. I mean, that's one of the most precious things that we still have left in this country, and that is the right to vote. And we should protect that and the integrity of that at all costs. And I think showing a voter ID is the right thing to do.
Well, that's an excellent answer that Mr. Tosh gave. I think I couldn't agree with him more. But I'd also like to add to it that people often ask, you know, why is it important? You know, why not let these folks vote? It's not that we're against other folks participating in our elections. It's that folks who are unassimilated, people who do not share our American values. That's what I'm concerned about. So yes, I agree. People should identify that they are in fact U.S. citizens or citizens of the state in which they reside. I do feel like if you look back in history and you look at all the civilizations that have come and gone, great civilizations, Rome, all these ancient civilizations, oftentimes what preceded their fall was because of many folks coming into that nation who were unassimilated, and that culture disappeared. And we don't want that to happen here. And this is not something that would happen overnight. This is something that happens over generations and generations. Look at Europe right now. You have hordes of folks from the Middle East and Africa that are coming in who obviously, a good many of them do not share the same values as most of Europe. And before you know it, they'll be in the majority. And then before you know it, you'll have European countries that have laws similar to the Middle East. And we don't want that.
Yeah. You take it from me.
Oh. I think I'm finished. I appreciate it.
I have tried, one thing in this campaign, ladies and gentlemen, is the unfortunate fact of politics is we have to answer questions on the national level, even though we're not running on the national level. Everything these two gentlemen said, but if I could try to communicate that to you a little more fine-tuned. Assimilation is important. We do have a lot of illegals that come in. The way my brain works, and I usually get in trouble by a lot of people because I think they think the way that I think and they don't. When I go to cast my vote, I shouldn't have to show anything. I'm an American citizen. With the exception of pulling out my driver's license for a photo ID, address, even though that record is already right there on the books in front of me. I understand why we have reached the point of the SAFE Act. I would just say my answer would be nothing more than a driver's license. I think that the voter polls have the information, and that should be the only thing the voters should bring to the table. Assimilation is very important. My family was Italian immigrants. Yes, sir.
30 seconds.
30 seconds, okay. So, I get it. I'll just end with that, I get it. But I'm an American citizen, and anything other than a driver's license, I don't feel I need to show anything.
I'm going to go ahead and just make the very obvious that I am the only woman on this panel before I respond, okay? Yes, of course we want all of our elections to have integrity. When you are registering to vote, you already have your Social Security number there available, and I feel that should be sufficient. At the pace and time where we are, I don't have any problem providing my driver's license, and I've never, had any problems with the poll workers who ask for me to show that to them. There are already ways for us to check those things because we are citizens. No one is illegal. I look and I think about people who are possibly undocumented to this point, and I see that they're on a path of citizenship. And they are not the ones that are creating the voter fraud from what the studies have shown. And so when I look at this, I see it as a way that could potentially lead to making it much more challenging for many people, approximately half of our population, ones of the same gender as myself, who have chosen to take their husband's last name, which in turn would turn into them having to obtain and collect all the documentation. I know that my parents have been married for a very long time, and trying to find that marriage certificate may take some time. And any barrier that we put as legislators two people voicing their opinions at the polls is something that I find disenfranchises far too many people. I do not get behind it, and I think that when we are drafting legislation, we need to look and walk in the shoes of people who may not look and act or have the same backgrounds as every one of us. Thank you.
The answer I've got for you is going to be simple, and it's not going to take very long. I'm sure in New York, I'm sure in California, New Jersey, places like that, I'm sure they have problems. Well, I'll say one thing, I don't believe we have the problem here. And I'm proud of the folks that take care of the polls, they take off their jobs, a lot of them do, and gosh, what would we do if people just didn't want to serve? So I think we're doing great in Arkansas. I don't think we have any. I'm sure there's maybe something somewhere, but if it is, I don't see it, and I'm just very glad that we handle the polls as good as we do in Arkansas. Thank you.
Could you please repeat the question for me?
The U.S. House recently passed the SAVE Act, which would establish national voter ID requirements and proof of citizenship when registering to vote. Some state officials, including candidates for the Arkansas Secretary of State office, have already expressed concerns about federal involvement in the state election process. Do you support this legislation, that being the SAVE Act? Why or why not?
I mean, I'm not going to say this is a simple answer. I'm going to lay it out as quick as possible. I do not support it. And if you guys have read the legislation, you'll understand that it is focused on disenfranchising not just people of color, but women and elderly people. My grandfather was born in 1942. I don't know where his birth certificate is. So what it looks like is when it's time for him to go vote, if they don't accept his ID, guess what happens? He doesn't get to vote. Same way with women. The American dream is for a woman to get married and take her husband's last name. But if you're going to take away her right to vote because she decides to live the American way and is quote unquote do the honest thing, how can we support legislation like this that puts us all in a line? Then who gets to vote? What age group gets to vote at that point? What gender gets to vote at that point? Who has control at that point? So my focus is no, I will not support it, and I want people to be able to vote and their voice be heard. It's not about your race, it's not about your gender, but it's about democracy, and we all should have the right to show up at the polls. It has nothing to do with where you come from, it has all to do with where you're going. So no, I will not support this.
Yeah, everybody, excuse me. Sorry. But I support safe elections, and I'm like Representative Tosh. What I've read about that, part of that, I always went to the House, and I support that. Your question was, well, how it affects the states, right? We've said that with Arkansas, like you said, we've had, like they said, we have safe elections in the election cycle. We have good elections, and you said the Secretary of State has in your question, has questioned part of that.
So all of the candidates running for the Arkansas Secretary of State position have expressed that they do not want to federalize elections in Arkansas.
Right. Well, and maybe where that's coming from, like he said, Arkansas has good state elections. And I support showing the right ID and being that person that you are to vote. And maybe there's other states that don't have election integrity like we have, that we work really hard for. And getting there has not been easy, but I do support that aspect, if it's constructed right and it don't mess up the state that's doing things right. And I believe Arkansas has got election bills and it's doing it right. So.
Before we begin with our next question, I would just like to make a quick change for the candidates, if it's okay with you all. Let's regulate our answers to 30 seconds each, just so it can be more time effectiveness, and so the audience will have their chance to also speak for that segment also. That's okay.
So we'll start the questions today. Mr. Alfano, I'll start with you. You align yourself as a new generation leader on Jonesboro right now. With low engagement from the new generation of voters, why do you feel that the current state leadership needs to be replaced if they are bought in more with our government than the current generation?
Can you say that one more time? It's kind of echoing.
You will liken yourself as a new generation leader, according to Jonesboro right now. With low engagement from the new generation of voters, why do you feel that the current state leadership, which is primarily old, needs to be replaced if they are bought in the most with our government? Could someone pass me a microphone?
Oh, okay.
So, Harry Sherman said one time, I love history, trying to answer this in 30 seconds. What is a real progressive? Freedom of speech. I want to come in and start where we're at as a community, fine-tune where we need to improve and move us forward. Right now, we see it especially with the last 3 terms of the men who have come to our White House in D.C. We can't wall everything up that the American people have poured their heart and soul in communities and start from scratch. With me, my heart is the accessibility. Is that it? That's it, okay. Oh, wait.
I hope everybody can hear me. The microphones are done.
Use your teacher voice.
All right. The next question will be for all the candidates. The Arkansas Learns Act has been law for 3 years now. Regardless of one's opinions on it, one single thing cannot be debated, and that is the way in which it has expanded school choice options for families. However, with that massive expansion for parents also came criticism about oversight of the use of public funds for the education freedom accounts. As a current or prospective state legislator, what or if any new rules would you like to see regarding education freedom accounts? That question is going to start with Mr. Carter.
It's simple. My campaign is built on transparency, education, and advocacy. When it comes to the Learns Act, it's not transparent enough. There's no oversight on the amount of money being spent, and I feel like that those dollars, when it comes to going to private schools or going to homeschool, there's no oversight. And so, if you ask me when it comes to this, I feel like there should be more oversight and more transparency when it comes to the community understanding how this money being spent and some regulation on those said dollars.
When you really think about the situation, can you throw that question at me one more time?
As a current or prospective state legislator, what or if any new rules would you like to see regarding education freedom accounts?
I don't know. I think we kind of laugh about these things from time to time. But I honestly think that we're as wide open as can be. I know the rest of these state reps and Senator Dan, there's no hidden agenda. I mean, the proper thing to do is to represent the people that we're actually working for. As far as any fraud, I don't know anything or anything being kept back from the voters. Don't know a thing about it. But I will say this. It's a moving object. So we always need to keep our eyes on that. Always. Uh-oh, that's it.
And I was there when we passed the Learns bill, and I don't know if everybody understands, the public fund money is here, and there's another bucket for that. But when you implement something new like that, as big as that is, you're going to have things that need to be looked at. I had a guy call me and said, hey man, homeschool people, they just get a card and spend the money. But no, that's not true. The card can only be spent on educational items. There was a couple situations that happened, and anyway, that got looked at. But when you implement something new, I mean, there's going to be things that need to be looked at. It's got to be worked on and amended, and that's part of it. And we've done that, and we'll continue to do that.
All right. Oh, sorry. Okay, so as far as EFAs, I've been really pleased with Senator Breanne Davis and her digging deep and seeing that, hey, some of this needs to have a lot more oversight. We have things such as chicken coops, we have shack gaming chairs and things like that, where people use the EFAs, the Educational Freedom Account money, to be able to purchase things that end up staying in that residence. And to me, that is something that as a public school teacher, whenever I purchase new chairs or anything for my classroom to supplement my kids' learning, it stays and serves with a lot of different students. I would like for us to make sure that we are stopping the bleeding there. Thank you. Auctioneer.
Can I say this is the quickest 30 seconds that I've ever seen in my life?
Can you wait until we begin speaking to start? Is that appropriate? Okay, I'm sorry, because I can't tell when it started. Thank you.
Sir, could you repeat that question for me?
As a current or prospective state legislator, what or if any new rules would you like to see regarding education freedom accounts?
Well, I'm with my fellow Democrat on this, and every school teacher I've talked to, it's mainly been with either one or more parent out of the house, focusing on counseling, some type of adult leadership in that child's life. The LEARNS Act, I'll say it, is it really 5 seconds? That's all right.
Well, I do support the Arkansas LEARNS Act. I know it's one of the governor's major legislative proposals. I do like the idea of a certain amount of competition amongst education providers. However, I do agree, especially with Ms. Asplin, I am concerned. I don't want to see the education, these accounts, turn into another Minnesota situation. I don't want to see another Leary Center being funded by these things. So I think we do need controls on this.
The Arkansas General Assembly during the last session, we invested $90 million into our educational freedom accounts here in the state of Arkansas. Our entire budget, $1 out of every $5 goes to education. And one of the things that I really like in talking to my superintendents across the district in these rural schools, they were able to bump those salaries up for our teachers from $36,000 to $50,000. They were having a hard time in those rural schools being able to retain those educators because of that pay. Now they are competitive, they can compete with the bigger schools, and turn that those are off. And anyway, 30 seconds not enough time for something.
I'm sorry, Mr. Tosh. Like a host of questions, and that's why we really did. So sorry about that. The next question is actually for Edna.
With prospective Representative Powers mentioning my name, can I have a moment to speak in regards to that?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Oh, thank you. Okay, so he just mentioned that we don't want another situation like Minnesota. And I think that whenever we do things like that without full knowledge, I think it's very dangerous for our democracy. I think that what we need to be comparing ourselves to some of the states that have implemented this and have shown that they have had absolute devastation as far as their budget, and we have all the warning signs in front of us right now. I don't believe that Minnesota is one of those states. I would like it is more to Arizona.
I'll say one thing. The money goes with the child. Now, if you guys have got children that are having problems in the school that they're in, I believe they've got the utmost utmost to go where they want to go. Because actually, we're not supposed to be seeing what is good for the system. We're supposed to be looking at what is good for the student. So,
Could you pass
So we're going to be asking each candidate 3 questions. I'll start with 2 for Mr. Tosh, and then John Thompson will ask 1, and then we'll alternate 3 and 3. So I'll start asking 2, then John will ask 2 of Cody. And I'll start with my first question for you. Would you support making it mandatory for all Arkansas residents to attend a class that teaches them how to behave in a traffic stop in order to get a license?
I'm having a hard time understanding. Could you repeat that and slow down just a little bit?
Would you support making it mandatory for all Arkansas residents to attend a class that teaches them how to behave in a traffic stop in order to get a license?
Saying what I would be in support of making it mandatory for individuals to attend the class, to know what to do during a traffic stop.
Yes, sir.
I don't think I would make it mandatory. I think we should offer, classes, public safety classes to make sure that everybody understands that during the traffic stop exactly what you're supposed to do. And I think that would probably be beneficial to a lot of people, but to force people to make that mandatory for them to require them to do that, I would not be in favor of that.
Mr. Tosh, recent federal and state actions have expanded cooperation between local law enforcement and federal immigration authorities. Some international students and visa holders have expressed concern about what this means for them in everyday interactions with the police. Can you explain the role of Arkansas State Troopers in immigration enforcement and what legally present students should know about their rights and responsibilities during a traffic stop?
I sure can. That's a great question, too, John. I appreciate you asking that question. I don't think I can answer in 30 seconds, but here goes. Really, that's a question probably for the Arkansas State Police, but let me take a shot at it in 2 parts. One first, as a legislator, during the 2025 session, we passed legislation, I believe it was Act 654, that didn't mandate it, but it encouraged our law enforcement officers, especially our state troopers, to participate in a 287G program that's with the federal government. I need to finish this thought right here, and I apologize, but this is too important not to. And for them to participate in that federal program 287G, that gave them the authority to be able to enforce immigration laws. And the state police is not out there; they're not independently stopping someone and enforcing that. But I'll give you an example. Those that are here that, I believe you said on an international scholarship or visa, they don't have anything to worry about. And I know that I chair the State Police and Game and Fish Subcommittee in the Arkansas Legislative Council, and it was just a couple of weeks ago we had state police before that committee. And the questions were asked, and this is a great question, and the state police, when that went into effect, in September 1 of 2025, and it went out and through February the 12th, the state police issued 180,000 tickets, either for warning or citations for traffic stops. Out of that 180,000, 48 of them were detained for immigration violations. And that law simply states that if you're here and you're undocumented, and you have committed a crime, or you have a crime that is pending, then you'll be transported, and then you'll be taken to Louisiana, and there you'll be processed and deported. However, the only thing that Act we passed in 2025 required was, I'm almost done.
Sorry.
2025 was it required that anybody that was Department of Corrections or detention officers, they were required to take that course because that's where individuals are processed, that's where they can make the necessary inquiry to determine if they were undocumented, if they had a crime pending. That's the process, that's the law.
Thank you, Mr. Thompson. Thank you, Mr. Thompson. The next question will be for Mr. Powers. Given your professional experience in the bail industry and concerns about overcrowding facilities like the Craighead County Detention Center, what reforms, if any, do you believe are needed in the Arkansas cash bail system? Would you support legislation to modify current bail laws? Also, please keep your answer minimum to 30 seconds.
Okay. We actually looked the other day, we had someone call around to all the county jails. There has been in the past overcrowding issues there. It's not as bad as it was. It is still here in Craighead County, but not in other places of the state. But let me say this about cash bail. There's a lot of misunderstanding about cash bail. When judges release someone, they have a plethora of release decisions they can make, from cash-only bonds to surety bonds, which is what L bonds, to OR, releasing them on recognizance, or no bond at all. So I think judges should continue to have that discretion.
My question for you is, well, I'll start by saying I agree that tough sentences should be imposed on people that cause harm to children. How will you ensure that Arkansas protects our children and harshly punishes those who commit crimes against children?
Well, I did serve for quite some time as both an elder and child abuse investigator here in Arkansas, Department of Human Services. DHS needs some serious reforms, folks. I'm just going to tell you that. Unless you've worked in the bureaucracy, you don't understand a lot of these things. A lot of red tape. I can tell you some nightmare stories. But also, as far as our sentencing, I think prosecutors should have their hands tied. They should be able to provide suspended imposition of sentence or probation for crimes against children.
Thank you.
Mr. Alfano, am I pronouncing that right? Yes, sir. Yes, sir. What specific policies would you introduce to support seniors and people with disabilities, if you are there?
Yes, sir. Very first thing is, I would start with building code. Anything Jonesboro that grows with Craighead County, really Northeast Arkansas, anything that pushes growth whatsoever, accessibility is the key thing in my mind. That's the very first thing on my list. Doors that are wide enough, lifts, places for paratransit to park and safely drop off the line.
My question for you, Mr. Alfano, is what are your plans to reduce living costs for the elderly? What important services are too expensive for them now?
Everything is too expensive for them now. I believe that, guys, there's talk about bureaucracy. There's so much that needs to be done. Every aspect of our seniors, every aspect, and I'd be up here 20 minutes if I was to get into all that. But senior housing, I think that should be plateaued.
Okay. You still have 20 seconds if you want.
How much?
15.
15 seconds. Okay. Yeah, just make housing, our seniors, whatever's taken out of that Social Security check, just we gotta take care of it. We gotta take care of it.
Ms. Erica, with additional funding approved for the education freedom accounts under the LEARNS Act just recently, families across Arkansas are weighing new education options. As an educator running for the legislature, what is your perspective on how this policy is affecting students, teachers, and public schools in communities like ours here in Jonesboro? And what do you plan to do with related regard? Please keep your answer. Yes, ma'am.
And what do I plan to do what?
And what do you plan to do with related regarding this policy that's affecting students, teachers, and public schools like communities here in Jonesboro?
Okay, yes, so when we push through legislation in record speed time, not all the things were lined out. Now, I'm a very inquisitive person and I like to work with people that don't necessarily always align with me. We needed to ask a lot more questions before that was pushed through. I don't fault many of the people that here voted yes on that because I do think there's a lot of pressure coming onto them as well. When we look at this and we think about the bleeding that's going on here, the amount of money that's coming out of public tax dollars that many people are unaware of, that they're even paying for some of the most affluent of our people, is concerning to me. Dance the whole thing, sorry, thank you. Oh, I get another one, I'm sorry, my bad. All right, good.
My question for you, Eric, is I love that you want to invest in public schools. What are your plans to address the below average ACT scores for high schools in the Jonesboro and Edelton school districts? Both scores for 2023 to 2024 years are lower than the 2020 and 2021 numbers, according to Jonesboro Unlimited.
Yes. Okay, so having been a virtual teacher during the COVID years, there is something that is definitely notable and absolutely remarkable and out of the ordinary for education. And I do think that had some impact on there. I do believe that Asa Hutchinson's proposed legislation, when we had a $1.6 billion surplus, is something that our Republican legislature should have gotten behind immediately, because it could have immediately stopped the bleeding and made sure that we had support for our teachers there, making sure that they had a pay increase. It could have also made sure that we filled the gaps that we are very aware were there. So for me, the ACT increase should have been handled then under Asa Hutchinson.
Sir? No, sir. Mr. Ryan, SB 64 funded the Educational Television Division of the Department of Education for the 2025-2026 fiscal year. And you voted against the bill despite broad support from many of your Republican colleagues. What concerns led to your vote, and how was your approach funding for educational media and public broadcasting for re-elected?
Now, I'm going to read it again, sir. I just can't hear you. I'm so sorry.
Senate Bill 64 funded the Educational Television Division of the Department of Education for the 2025-2026 fiscal year. You voted against the bill despite broad support from many of your Republican colleagues. What concerns led to your vote, and how was your approach funding for educational media and public broadcasting moving forward if elected?
Now, we're talking about public housing?
Senate Bill 64, which funded the Educational Television Division. Basically, what would you do moving forward if elected, and how would you approach, educational funding?
Well, first, I really have been wanting to say this for a long, long time. I really did like the way that our teachers got a raise. I really, really did. Now, this is what you want to hear. Isn't this the question?
Public television.
Public television.
Oh, public TV, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I just can't hear in this house either.
I understand.
Public television is a great thing. But there have been some things that had to be adjusted. And we got the man in the house that did the biggest part of the work. We do not need things that's inappropriate for our children in our libraries or on public TV. I mean, you're paying taxes. You're paying taxes, and I just feel like it's the right thing to make sure that appropriate language, scenes, any kind of things like that is definitely looked into.
So one more question for you. Mr. Wright, my question is, I am a person who looks forward to getting an extra hour of sleep when daylight saving ends. It's like a reward for working hard in school. Why do you strongly want to make one time permanent?
Fellas, I'm having trouble here.
About the daylight savings.
Daylight savings time.
Oh, daylight savings?
Why do you want to make one time permanent?
Well, at one time, I would, all the way. I wanted to see daylight saving time, but now here's what you're running into. That's not all good, because with daylight saving time, you're getting more hours of light at the end of the day, which is a good thing for parents trying to go to the grocery store and things like that. But you're putting the sun later in the morning, which I think is endangering our kids that are getting on school buses, because there's a lot of kids that are getting on school buses that it's dark, and that's a bad thing.
Mr. Carter, time and time again, in your campaign, you hear the slogan, people over politics. What does people over politics mean to you in day-to-day life?
It means just what my campaign is. Transparency, education, and ethics. People over politics mean I'm not putting my party first. I'm not putting their agenda before the people that I serve. The the people of District 36 actually have a voice when I'm in the House, because it's not about the Democratic Party or the Republican Party, it's about the people in which I serve.
My question for you, Mr. Carter, is many people in this community support diversity and inclusion, but not equity. Do you support equity? And if you do, why do you feel others should as well?
I definitely support equity. I support it, and I support it for many reasons, because it's a responsibility that we have. Equity is not something that's, it's not something that gives me the leg up. It's something that gives me an equal playing field for everybody, and it's measurable. It's a responsibility that we have as Arkansans and American citizens to equal playing field for everyone.
Representative Billigan, I'm sure you have heard about the recent allegations involving the current mayor of Jonesboro regarding the City Stars program. As a former mayor yourself, can you share your perspective and what laws, if any, should the state consider to provide greater oversight and accountability for public-private partnerships into by city officials and more? Would you like me to repeat that?
Yeah, I heard the first part, but the other part.
Mr. Milligan, as a former mayor, can you share your perspective on what laws, if any, should the state consider to provide greater oversight and accountability for public-private partnerships such as the City Stars program?
Yeah, well, it had been, like you said, being there, and we had a small field there where we played softball and baseball and stuff. We had, and I don't know anything about all that going on, and I ain't pointing fingers at anybody, I don't know anything that happened, except what you read here saying. But I won't take that. But I'm going to say that I don't know if the state needs to get involved in that. I think local control can take care of that. We got a process there in Lake City where at the end of the night, so many three people counted on and signed off, and the next day the clerk did it and made a match. And I think there could be handled better locally than the state can do it myself.
My question for you, Mr. Milligan, is I read a recent publication that stated that 41% of all the financial fraud losses arose from cryptocurrency. Would you support legislation that would require any digital asset service provider offering crypto accounts to Arkansas residents to provide an Arkansas-approved education model explaining common scams, fraud risks, account security practices, and consumer protections before a new customer completes the account opening process?
Yeah, I think I get most of your question about crypto and the education part.
Basically requiring that the people who provide crypto services have a module that people in Arkansas have to complete that tells them about the common crypto scams and how to avoid them.
Yeah, and there again, I don't know if we need a law on that, but yeah, people, I don't know if it needs to come from the crypto or maybe it needs to come from law, but there needs to be some education on it. I myself don't know a whole lot about the crypto market and all that goes on there. But yeah, there needs to be some more education and I support some kind of model of that to move forward.
We will now open the forum to the audience, and that's why we regulated it to 30 seconds, because we really wanted our audience here tonight to be able to ask a question. You will have a minute to respond to any questions that are directed to you, and now we ask that if you are a member of the audience, please raise your hand if you would like to ask a question. I saw over here first.
So I'm going to open this up to all of you. In light of current political divide nationwide, statewide, how will you work together to remove the wedge between parties, to close the gap, and work across the aisle to bring meaningful legislation to our state?
I'm going to come up here and say it too, Johnny, because I know you're having a hard time.
Yes, sir, yes.
It's reverberating a lot, and the louder it is, the harder it is. Oh, Jim.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Yes, sir.
Well, it's so reverberated he can't hear. I'm gonna let him read the top one there.
Oh, that's no problem. No problem. And that's 99% of everything that goes through that legislature is not Democrat or Republican. It's doing for your area. I've seen times when maybe a few of us had to be on one side of the stick and one on the other because our district actually would be different than the other as far as the need is concerned. But, you know, it's really something when you really get to thinking about how things are down there in Little Rock. I mean, man, let me tell you something. We've got something like 22, 23 Democrats and something like 78% Republicans. And I can tell you one thing, there's some good folks out there. And I try my best to stay out of any kind of partisan politics because you're really not trying to promote a party as much as you are serving areas, okay? So that's just the way I believe.
Was that question directed to the
Anybody on the panel?
You can pass it to whoever would like to ask.
Would y'all like to respond?
Erica, did you want to respond?
I will, but I'll go after
Go
you.
ahead, go
No,
ahead.
all right. There is no question that when we have our governor, so we have the top of the executive branch here in our state who continually name calls. I think it leads to division that is unnecessary and it prevents us from having forward motion. I know that there are many primaries across our state right now that are being contested and a lot of PAC money has been put in to go against some of the people that you all worked with for many, many years. I'm curious as to how you feel about that because when I see money being funneled into a way that sways the will of the people, that's something that's very concerning to me, and that's why I only, get individual contributions. I do not expect to take any PAC money. I think that when we get dark money out of politics, it kind of makes that a non-issue, and that's something that I would hope that we would all get on board with. We need to stop with the name calling and start getting to work, because when we focus on the culture wars that don't necessarily actually reflect anything that's going on in Arkansas, we're doing damage to our constituents. We're good? Did you all
If I may start,
Yes, sir. Did you all know?
Is there anyone else that would like to answer the question with that?
Oh, we can get another question for that.
Well, I was just going to say that I agree very much with what was said, but when you think about it, especially on the national level, but this also applies to the state level and local level. Our founding fathers, when they created this, our Constitution, it was somewhat designed for a certain amount of gridlock, unfortunately. I mean, that's, we have a bicameral legislature, instead of a unicameral legislature. So when you have a group of representatives, they finally a majority of them agree on something, then it goes to another group, the Senate, and they got all agree on it, word for word, and then the governor has to agree to it. And so it's kind of designed that way, but I think there is always room for more gentlemanly behavior within politics. I couldn't agree more.
Thank you. And, it's Arkansas capital. People are surprised that, we work together. Democrats, Republicans, I run a lot of legislation. And I have Democrats, they support my bills. And there's not like there's this divide. This is not Washington, this is Arkansas. We are Arkansans. It's not a matter sometimes whether you keep hearing over and over, and everybody wants to try to pull one direction or the other. Is it on the left? Is it on the right? What about sometimes we take a step back and we say, hey, instead of whether it's left or whether it's right, is it right or is it wrong? That should be our perspective when we're looking at legislation that's affecting every Arkansan. And I'll end it there. Each representative has 32,000 people approximately. Friends on the street, when I get a call from somebody needing help, it never crosses my mind, right on the table, is this
Thank you,
Republican,
Mr. Thomas.
Democrat, or Independent. My job is to help them, and that's what I do.
If you would.
Yeah, I'm like Representative Tosh Lennon, like where we work, it's not like you see stuff on TV on DC. We're all friends and we work together. Now, there's some things that we're just not going to the same. It's just, I mean, I've been married 35 years, and some things me and my wife just don't agree. But we're not going to. But there were some bills come through city, county, local that we worked across the aisle that kept them out, protecting all the people. It was some short-term rental stuff that needs to be handled locally, not a state law that controlled it. We thought, work together and kept it out of it. I mean, working together for the people. So it's not, we get along and we work together, but there's some things you're not going to agree on, you know, but anyway, and
Going to open it up to the next question. Please raise your right hand. Please put your hands down. We're now going to open it up to the next question. Please raise your right hand.
My name is Matt Redden. I'm a teacher at Jonesboro High School. I would like to direct my question to Mr. Milligan since he's my representative, but I'm very interested in the rest of your responses as well. We talk a lot about improving schools, but student performance is shaped by things outside of the classroom too. If we truly want to do what's best for students and not what is best for the system, these things include poverty, food insecurity, mental health, unstable housing. What more do you think the state can do to address those outside factors to help students truly access the education the best that they can?
you talking about outside the school, not in, outside the school, is what you said?
Yeah.
Yeah, what can the state do? Let me start on the local level. You know, when I was a mayor and working with the local food banks or the local backpack programs to make sure the kids had food. But on the state level, well, you know, we got to work to, we're going to maybe lower the income tax. We got to work to make it easier on people to have more money in their pocket where they take care of the kids. And we got to work and try to, and you know, Arkansas has been the most moved in state the last 2 years. We got to try to work to create more jobs. I don't know if y'all looked at the, and some people don't like it, but amendment number 3, you know, it allows you to, like a small town, to have the tools in their tool belt to draw businesses. You know, where you pay your taxes, wherever you work, it gives them a tool to do that. Well, that creates more jobs, so you have more jobs for your people, for the kids' parents, you know, where they'll have a job. And a lot of that, the state, there's things we can do, and then a lot of that, being a mayor of a local town, a lot of that's local. A lot of the churches step up and help kids, and that, a lot of that fall, it don't all fall there. We need to work together, like I talked a while ago. But that's a, like I told you a while ago, Mr. Carter, that's a will with many spokes. You know, because I was a mayor, I stepped in one time, and I was told they didn't need me. You know, so you don't want to overstep that. That's a lot to do, a lot of process, and we need to work on it together.
All right. So, I'm sorry, the question was read to Mr. Billy.
It was just read?
I believe so.
If anybody else wanted to answer it, but
I will. John, I will.
I would love to hear all their answers.
Okay. We're gonna.
So let me go ahead, and again, I know I just have a minute, but we'll keep it very brief. So we can't just limit it to what's going on with the school hours. We have to use that money to invest in after-school programs and mentorship that allows these kids to after school to have the guidance that they need in order to be successful. You know, yeah, bill to bill 8 to 3, that's okay because that's a babysitting opportunity in so many people's eyes. But when parents have to go to work, you can get the job in the community. But what happens? Who's accountable for them when they're not in the classroom? Who's helping them when they're not in the classroom? So investing in big brother initiatives, and you're going to ask them where the money going to come from. Well, we had a surplus at one point in which we could have invested in these things, as Ms. Ashley was saying earlier. So I think we're looking at ways to invest in mentorships and after-school programs in which to help these kids and their families to be more successful.
Can I answer on that? There's no doubt about it. And we have a surplus. Now, we're going to have to decide what's going to happen. We're looking at this big jail facility over northeast of Fort Smith. That you hear some good data about that deal there, but I do want to say this much while I get a chance. About 5 or 6 years ago, we were paying 6.9% on our income taxes. And that has went down to 3.9%. And people would say, well, when you cut that out, you're going to cut people, you're going to make it so hard you can't, work with folks. You're taking money away from them. But man, this is not the case at all. Our income tax is lower, but at the same time, it's producing more revenue because you're putting the money in the hands of the people, and it's turning 8 to 10 times.
If I'm remembering Mr. Redmond's question correctly, he is asking what would be the best way for us to improve educational outcomes with us being the most food impoverished state in the nation. And then I look at agriculture and how we have half of our farms that are failing, how that blends into our infrastructure, how that blends into our ability for manufacturing. All of those come into play. And then you combine that with us being the only state in the nation that does not have extended Medicaid for new mothers and their children. Those early years are so critical to these children. We have the opportunity to expand for universal pre-K, and I advise there's 20 seconds left. I am collecting signatures to get both of those issues on the ballot this November. So as I'm canvassing, I am also collecting to make sure that your voices can be heard, because we can have access to that by getting it on the November ballot and expand universal pre-K, as well as have after-school programs. And we could have had our General Assembly do it, but I'll do it instead. Thank you. Thank you very much. It's from the heart.
Sir, could you please repeat the question?
A lot of things outside the classroom affect students inside the classroom. What more can the state do, if anything, to help mitigate some of those challenges for students accessing their education? Sure. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir. Makes sense. Thank you, ma'am. So, some battles I have learned in politics thus far, some and in pastoring too. I'm a children's pastor. There are some fights and battles that the battlefront, the battlefield is the home. Our teachers went to college to be teachers. I would imagine, even though they do have a mother's heart or a father's heart, and they love our children, they're precious in their sight, they're there to be a teacher. And I wouldn't ask anything more than that, or the community for that matter. But it is a real issue, and if I was to fund anything, vote for anything for funding to help those families, I would target the family as the entirety. I wouldn't do it individually. I think we have enough. There's always room to build on the individual attention of the student in school now. But I do believe that we can focus on the family.
Well, I just want to focus on one aspect of that. That's such a broad question. There's so many ways we could answer that. But just from my background, we have children in some very bad situations. And a lot of children fall through the cracks for whatever reason, whatever happens at the home. And I've seen it firsthand. And I feel like our state's last line of defense on the system we put in place for those children is not working right. It's not working right at all. Children who are neglected, children who are abused, they're just falling through the cracks. And we have our child welfare system is so cumbersome, so burdensome. It's just going to keep on happening. And frankly, most of the individuals within the current House and the House of Representatives and the Senate, they just really don't understand. They're getting information from the people already in power, and they're supporting the public system over and over again. We need to change that.
Great question. And to address one of those issues, during the last General Assembly, here everybody competes for three basic needs. That is clothing, shelter, and food. We have to be able to meet those needs in our students. That, in an environment, you can imagine when they start a day and sometimes they don't even have a nutritious meal. And that affects their learning in that environment that they're in. So during the last session, we passed a bill. I can't remember the exact number, but it guarantees a free breakfast for every school day for all students in our public schools. And somebody said, well, how are you going to fund that bill? Well, we're funding it through the medical marijuana tax. That's how we're funding it. And this bill just assures that, every student starts their day with a nutritious day. And I think that affects the learning environment. Arkansas was ranked as one of the hungriest states in the nation in 2023. And that bill there helps combat that statistic. Thanks for the question.
We're going to allow 5 more questions, and we'd ask that the question is directed to a specific candidate. And we're going to start with any students in the crowd. If there's any students who'd like to ask a question.
Okay, so my question is directed for Ms. Asplin. So I go to Jonesboro High School, and a big problem I see is the usage of artificial intelligence, whether it be teachers or students. So I just wanted to know what you would do to help the usage of artificial intelligence, and if you see it in your day-to-day, since I know you're in education.
I would love to answer that question.
That's a good one.
Now, before I begin, can I get your name, please?
Sadie.
Sadie, okay, thank you for that question. Artificial intelligence has such a drain on our environment. It's something that I ethically cannot get behind. When I look at it and I think about the use of it as both an educator and then having my students use it, there are so many ways that people can abuse that situation and then also not tap into their full potential by using the research that's available. Now, I'm all for technology and the integration of that. I know that anytime that something new is incorporated, there's a growth that comes with it, and we have to slowly meld it into what we do. But when I look at this, I'm not seeing the pros outweighing the cons. I'm really not. The use of research is something that is so critical when we're filled in a world of disinformation right now. People don't know the difference between primary source documents, secondary source documents, and I look at that and I think that is one more hurdle that our young people are going to have to overcome. And that's something that I just can't get ethically behind. And then I think about the water usage and the way that I would like to leave our earth for both my children and grandchildren. So thank you very much for that question. Thank you.
Who else would like to ask a question to one of the candidates?
My question is about the Lawrence Act. Earlier in this, I guess I go to Ms. Asplin, since you're an educator or someone that's already serving. In the Lawrence Act, someone on the panel earlier said that the money follows the child. Okay? With the public school system, I'm a retired teacher. I know that there are safeguards in place. We have curriculums we have to follow. We have testing that we have to do. We have all of these things. If homeschool children and private schools children are receiving the same amount of funding that a public school does, then we have a problem because the safeguards are not there for them, as far as I know. Though testing is incredible in the school system right now. Days on end. In fact, I volunteered today to give tests for 4 days in April. 4 days that public school kids do not get an education because they are being tested to see if they qualify, if the school qualifies to get the money that they're being given. We may consider that to be a safeguard to protect what the children are getting, but we need the same safeguards. Why do we not have the same safeguards for people that are receiving the funding for homeschooling? And actually, rather than Ms. Asplund, I think maybe you could answer that question, please? Thank you.
I'm not an educator, but I'm married to one, so you know, that counts hot. But there are safeguards for those that choose the money, and you're right, that was said earlier by one of the panel, and it does. The money follows the student. And there was an increase in that funding per student. I think it's like $8,117 now per student that goes. So when we put those safeguards in place, and you were exactly right, man, when that LEARNS Act came out, what it does is if someone chooses to homeschool their students, that money does follow them, but they are periodic, and I can't remember the time frame, every few months they're required through the Department of Education, they administer them a test to make sure that they're at the learning level they should be, and if they're not, then those funds are stopped. So those safeguards, the way I understand it, somebody, if I'm wrong, then I stand corrected, but I'm not 99.9% sure, they are tested to make sure that they are getting that education, even if it's at home. And if not, then they're no longer be, they'll have to go back to public school or wherever they go, but no more homeschool. So that was a great question, though, and that's a great concern. It's a concern of mine. You know, that some people just take that money and just, you know, not even educate their kids at home, just use it for whatever reasons. So that's the reason those safeguards are placed in there.
Who else would like to ask a question?
I have this question for Representative Ryan to follow up. Can you hear me okay? So earlier when we were talking about the LEARNS Act, we were talking about transparency. There was a report in the Arkansas Democrat Gazette this year that talked about how LEARNS voucher funds, public funds, were being spent to buy everything, including $200 Ray-Ban sunglasses. Do you see how that could be improved?
I haven't heard that, but if
It was in the state paper. It was reported in the state paper.
Okay, well, I may have missed that question, but I'm going to tell you this much. Whatever, if a person wants to go to homeschool, or if they want to go to private school, it needs to be the exact curriculum as what the public school is teaching.
So you're saying you support putting requirements that schools that take voucher money follow the same curriculum as the public schools?
I think if it's a private school or whether it's homeschool, no matter what, whatever goes through our public school is exactly what the standard that they should be held to. Yes, sir.
Okay, great. That's a great answer.
Who else would like to ask a question?
Thank you. Hi, my name is Teresa, and I'm directing my question to Mr. Powers. I've been following your campaign, and I think you kind of touched upon it a little bit, but if you could further expand, I feel like with children being successful in school, that of course food, shelter, those types of things are very important, but I think we're also forgetting about the aspect of maybe mental health and what would you do. You kind of touched upon that when you were talking about DHS.
Yeah, you know, when it comes to mental health here in Arkansas, with my last couple of years at the Department of Human Services, I noticed something I really liked in our school system, and I think it's something we should continue. I was
was up at Jonesboro High School one day, and they have in-house mental health providers. I was very impressed by that. That's not something we had when I was growing up. And children could come by and talk to that provider at any time or occasion. And I was very impressed with that. And I think we need to keep that happening. We need to continue supporting that type of program in our schools.
I do have one more question for you. I'm sorry, I've been following you. So you know, are you of the opinion that we do have the strongest FOIA information in the country? And with that being said, if you're of that opinion, do you have a problem with any of the exceptions?
Well, I am very impressed with the Arkansas Freedom of Information Act. It actually began in the 60s, and if I understand correctly, many other states and even our national government copied much of our Freedom of Information Act. And I think government transparency, our government recently called a special session a few years ago, and I was somewhat disappointed by some of the things, some of the exceptions. Now I know in the media it's primarily about the governor's security, and I get that. But what was not talked about was several other exceptions, such as the government attorney exception, deliberative process exception. And the way I saw it is that it was just a bureaucrat's way to evade, to escape transparency. You know, if you don't want to know what we're talking about in our emails, just CC the government attorney. If you don't want to, you know, when certain boards and commissions are emailing one another back and forth and deliberating through email, because not just deliberations, yes, they happen in the public side, but they also happen in private. We need to have access to those. So I do very much disagree with those exceptions.
Is there a student who would like to ask a final question before we move on to the candidates wrap it up?
Hello, everybody. I'm going to direct my question to Representative Tosh over here. I know there's some laws regarding this. I just want to see if there's anything that we can do. Just driving around Jonesboro, you see a lot of panhandlers. So I just want to see if there's anything we can do to maybe help them get off the streets.
You say you're driving around Jonesboro, you see a lot of what?
A lot of the panhandlers, like at the stoplights and by Walmart.
You know that, I heard you, man. And, you know, I get asked that quite a bit, and there's no law that prohibits that, you know, and I don't see anything in the near future where there will be any laws enacted to prevent that. I think that's, you know, if people want to give to those individuals, obviously they have that right to do so. That may be, some of that may be their own income, you know, whatever, but that's up between them and the individual. But, you know, it's, you bring up a great point, and I get asked that question quite a bit. What are we going to do about that? I just don't know that, you know, do we really want to pass laws, you know, that would prohibit that, or maybe, you know, just leave that up to the cities if they want to enact an ordinance or something to bring it, but not do it at a statewide level, but let individual local governments deal with that issue if they feel it's become a problem.
But don't you think that that's more of a mental health issue? A lot of the homelessness?
So we would really like to continue asking more questions. And time now is, I believe, 6:30, and we do not want to keep anyone here over the time that y'all. I would first like to start by saying thank you all for agreeing to be here today. This is one of the first ever, I believe, candidate forums of this likeness that students have attempted to put on by each other. So thank you for bearing with us. I know the rules changed a little bit. We had, as you can see, a lot of questions for you, but you know, there isn't just enough time today. I would like to give you all the opportunity to have closing statements. We're going to start with Mr. Billy, if that's fine. And if you have any...
I went first, start down there. No, I'm just kidding. He's got the microphone.
He always wants me to go first, and there's a reason for that. He doesn't know what to say. You know, I was sure you want to go first, but I'm going to do that. Just want to make a closing statement.
Yes, sir. And if you have any questions for the representatives, I'm not, if you all are open to it, maybe, you know, approach you after if that's up to you. If it's fine with you, because your closing statement be 1 minute, if that's okay.
How long?
1 minute, if that's enough.
That's tough on me. You know that by now, that's difficult for me to do. And I've already gave an opening statement, told you my background, how much I appreciate serving you as your state legislator. But let me just bullet real quick. You know, like I said, I'm in my, 12th year at the state legislator. I probably passed somewhere between 75 to 85 pieces of legislation that's all been enacted into law. And, some of those I'm extremely proud of. During my first session, I passed a bill to give civil liability protection to an individual in the event they had to use deadly force. And, I passed a bill to turn an old prison that had been abandoned down around Pine Bluff, and we turned that into working with the veterans to be able to have our veterans to get them out from under these overpasses and cardboard boxes and get them a place to get out of the cold and to be able to live. This last session, I was contacted at a workforce training facility right here in Jonesboro, one of 31 that we have in the state, that they were cutting the funding. Passed legislation to redirect funding from unemployment insurance to that workforce.
Thank you, Mr. Tosh.
I know, and I'll wrap it up, and I'll close by saying that I'm proud of that legislation, and I'm proud of the fact that we criminalize unlawful slaughter. So, God bless you, thank you for having me here, and it's good to be with you. I hear you, boys. I hear you.
Well, I just want to say thank y'all for having us. It's been an honor to be here with this SD crowd on this stage here. A lot of great minds here, a lot of great questions. I think I'm probably one of the youngest individuals probably on this stage. I'm not absolutely sure, but probably. But I want to speak mainly to the students here for just a second. Thank y'all for what you're doing. And don't give up. Don't give up. It's hard. It's hard. I remember being in high school, you feel like you're invincible, and people encourage you to keep going. They give you accolades and praise, but as soon as you enter adulthood, it gets hard. And then no one supports you, it seems like. Just keep going. I see a lot of potential amongst these young folks, great minds. And again, I cannot say thank you enough for having us here, and thank you for what you do.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much again for hosting this evening, you showing up. If you could look around and see those in this room, if we could multiply this number by about 3,000, we could get a whole lot more done in our community. But thank you, Mr. Thompson. Thank you, sir, for hosting us, and it's an honor to be here.
Right, once again, my name is Erica Asplin, and I'm asking for your vote not only in the primary that concludes on next Tuesday, March 3rd, but also again on November 3rd, where I will contest the current representative for House District 32. Just as I ran my 24 campaign, even as though I was having mailers sent out with caricatures calling me crazy and many of those things, I will always stay true to my character. No one can change who I am. When I go into the legislature, I will make sure that that image of what we deserve in our representation is held accountable to everyone around me. And that's because these men up here that have spent a large chunk of their time are really here to serve us. They are caught in the middle of this firestorm that's in Arkansas as well. We need to have more balance in our legislature. And yes, I am a Democrat, but I also am a Democrat that received more crossover votes than any other state level candidate in the 2024 election cycle, which means that I had so many people that support our current president that also felt I was the person for the job. I appreciate your vote. Thank you so much.
Well, it's just a pleasure to be with you folks, okay? Y'all are supposed to be what we're thinking about when we get out here. You know, I'll never forget the first term I was there. I had a bunch of attorneys and things, and well, this one's here, this one's there. And I thought, push would be the smart way to go. And you know what? When I went home after that first session, I got to thinking this. I don't care how smart people are when it comes to this situation. That's even here in the room. What I go with is the percentages of our people in what they want. Now, you're never going to be perfect with what you do, but I'll guarantee you one thing. I try my best to get 85 to 90%, and I leave myself at that back door, and I think of the folks at home when I start voting, and I appreciate being here.
Listen, I'm gonna keep it short and sweet. We got 1 minute, and I'm gonna give it to you as quick as possible. Look, I'm choosing people over politics, and I ask that you guys do the same thing. It's not about Democrat, it's not about Republicans, it's about progress over partisanship. If you want somebody who's gonna represent everybody in this room, whether you vote for me or not, I'm the guy that sits a little around. It has nothing to do with what party I represent, but it has everything to do with the amount of food that's in the refrigerator. It has everything to do with the amount of money that you have in your bank account right now. Ask yourself a question, do I have more money today than I did 10 years ago? Because if the answer is no, it's time to change some things. I want to be the representative in Little Rock that represents everybody here in Jonesboro, everybody in Arkansas, everybody that deserves a voice. I want to be that person. So come November 3rd, I hope that you guys think about me when you go to the ballot box. Thank you guys.
Again, guys, I appreciate y'all putting this on, appreciate you inviting everybody being here, the crowd being here, but, and I too, like I said, it's start my 4th term this next round, and I enjoy what I do, and it's about the people, it ain't about me. When I ran, there was, guys said, well, I think we're going to do this, and I said, hey, look, it ain't about, if you start slinging mud, it's about me and you, but it's about the people you represent. It's not about that. But anyway, I enjoy it. Thank y'all too, guys. Not the very first time that I run for office, we had a debate here. I think there was just 2 of us showed up. I can't remember, but we had one here. And but anyway, I mean, but that's all that matters. But anyway, maybe 3. But it was. We had a good time, and y'all done a good job putting this together. You learn and keep doing it and keeping everybody involved. Because that's kind of like going to church. You ain't got no young people involved in that church. But if young kids don't get into politics and get into business, it's going to go south. So thank you.
I would like to thank everyone who came here tonight and came to support these candidates and learn more about their policies. I'd like to thank all the candidates for coming and sharing their thoughts on certain policies. I'd like to introduce State Senator Dan Sullivan. He represents District 20, and he'd like to say a few words.
I know most of you came here to hear the candidates. I came here to hear these 2 guys. They started working with me several months ago, or I started working with them. They called themselves interns at first, and now they're associates. We work closely together. Swing, stand up please. And Matt is our newest intern, signed up tonight. Just to give you a little background. Several months ago, these guys organized and put together a meeting with the head of the commissioner of higher ed. And he was here, the chancellor at ASU was here. We did a forum on access to state law. We talked a little bit about tonight. Johnny's also from Pine Bluff, and we are meeting with a group from Pine Bluff because there's some good things going on in Pine Bluff, and people don't know about it. We're working with UAPB, the school, the Pastor Jesse, and several people. Johnny's helping with that. Or Johnny is one of 15 people who got accepted to a summer program at Harvard. Huge deal. They are helping at multiple things. Swing, I have a hard time, but some people call him James. I think he needs to be known by his real name. But he is, and I'm going to join him. He's going to UCA this Friday and giving a presentation on AI. One of the questions tonight was about AI in schools. He has worked with the Department of Education, with Arkansas State to put together a survey to send out to schools that I think was sent out today, correct? Talking to teachers about what AI looks like in the next 3 or 4 years. Matt we'll figure out something for him to do, but he's excited and eager. But folks, again, these young people have really taken an interest, and I couldn't be prouder of them. Would you give them a stand up, folks? And stand up to them. And, thank you. We appreciate you coming. Good job. We're done, right?
We're done. If you guys want to approach the candidates and ask any questions, just one-on-one, feel free to do so.